Hey everybody, welcome back to Life Under Deborah's Palm, where I have been absent for a few weeks for a couple of reasons. One is I've been fighting with my website, and I'm just going to have to continue to fight with that thing because I haven't figured out exactly what's going on with it. It works, it's fine, it's just running very slow to load, and I've been trying to figure that out. The other thing I've been working on is developing a dream dictionary for you, like one that is your dreams, your dream interpretation. It's just going to be an outline and a framework, and I thought maybe I'd get that done quicker than I have, but I keep changing everything, so it's not. And once I have it done, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer it in two forms. One will be just free downloadable sheets on my website that, you know, if you just want to download the sheets, there's going to be no charge. The other is I'm going to offer it in a bound journal form, and that will be available through Amazon. Some people like journals, some people like to give journals as gifts. It'll be a little different than what I've seen out there. I think it'll be a lot more specific than some of the things that I've seen. I wasn't originally going to do that, but I couldn't find anything that kind of did quite what I'm doing. And like I said, there'll be kind of a free version and a paid version when I get done with that. Okay, now that the public service announcement's over, let's get back to dream interpretation. And this one, I decided I'm going to start with people. And people can be funny, and I'm going to break it up so that it's not a super long video. And the first part of what I'm going to do is family. So what are the people in your family doing? And the way I look at it is this. I have some notes, so if you see me looking down, that's why. Family. So what are they doing in your dreams? And this is going to be true of all people in your dreams. One of the first things you need to decide is, how do you view them? So I have a brother I have no problems with. You know, we get along fine, we always have. When he's in my dreams, he is not usually a bad thing. But if you had a brother or a sister that you couldn't stand, that you were always fighting with, that was always a problem, or maybe you're estranged from, then you're going to view them differently, and they're going to mean something very different in your dream. So as you see, whether it's family or people, you're going to have to look at your personal view of them. Okay, somebody else may think they're wonderful and fabulous, but you might not. And so how do you view them? Okay, that's probably one of the first things you're going to need to look at. People are not usually literal in dreams. As I've said before, a lot of dreams, or the majority of dreams, really are symbolic. And so these people will more likely be sort of the characteristics they embody. Sometimes it can be their names, literally. I went through a thing where the Lord kept speaking to me. I kept hearing, so I hear through music, and I kept getting songs with Rose and Rosie and and I was like, what? That was my grandmother's name. And then once I realized that, I began to have dreams about my grandmother. And in this case, they were literal. My grandmother is dead, and the dreams were about how she had taken me as a baby and unknowingly dedicated me to things she had no permission to dedicate me to. She overrode my mother and my father. She did it in secret, and it was really obvious. Once I understood it, I kind of could see things that were markers in life. And I have a helicopter going over, so we might have to wait this one out. Okay, I think he's gone. And sometimes what grandparents are, they're a generation. They're the generation before you. And sometimes it's an inheritance. And everything can be good or bad. They may be leaving you a characteristic that's really good that you need to seek the Lord about. So, for example, I had a dream about my dad one time, a long time ago, and I'm not even sure if he was still alive or not, but in the dream we were digging, and the interpretation was there were giftings in my family's past that no one had ever gotten a hold of. And in fact, I got the answer. It was evangelism, worship, and the prophetic. And on his side of the family, those gifts had been lying dormant, and they needed to be dug out. They needed to be found, that people were not using them in my family. And it's not just me, it's throughout his family. So that's a generation past, or now I have a plane, generations past. That's a lot of what that is. Now going forward, what about children or grandchildren if you have them? Those are the future generations. Sometimes they can be symbols of an inheritance, because that's what the Bible says, is children are an inheritance. They're your next generation. They're going to hopefully move on and do better than you did, or move differently than you did. Everybody's unique. Moms and dads, again, did you have a good mom? Did you have a bad mom or dad, or an absent dad, or an absent mom? See, some of those things are just going to come down to your personal experience. For me, there were times when it was literal for my mother. There were things that needed to be dealt with in her life, especially once she got older, and she had dementia and went into a facility, and she died last year. And I would see her, and sometimes she would look perfect. She would look well. Sometimes she would look like she had dementia, which she did. And what I finally realized, and this is actually kind of normal, my mother was the symbol of the church, and God was showing me sometimes the church is just confused. They don't know what they're doing, and you need to pray that they move in this direction. Fathers, same thing. They can be symbolic. They can be symbolic of God the Father sometimes. I've had that happen more than once. I had a dream one time where I don't remember what was going on, but I think I was dealing with my mother's dementia in the earlier stages, and I had a dream that my father stepped out, and I went to go towards him, but I caught myself, and I said, "This isn't real, it's a dream. He's not really here." And ultimately, I ended up going over to him in the dream, and he put his arm around me and said, "Do you think I don't see what's going on? I know exactly what's going on with your mother. I'm right here. Do you see me?" It didn't change the outcome. My mother did not get healed of dementia. She died of pneumonia last year. But he was being God the Father in that dream, saying, "You think I'm not here. You think I don't see what's going on. I know exactly what's going on, and don't think I don't." See, now I have relatives, one's Victoria, and when I see her, it's actually a play on words. It's victory. And I know someone else that's a whole lot younger than my aunt with the same name. And it's the same thing. The Lord says, it's victory. This is how you get victory over a situation. So there can be a lot of things going on. I'm going to look at, although this isn't a person, it kind of all goes together. Babies, and then there's pregnancy and miscarriage. I've had dreams I've been pregnant. I don't have children, but I've had dreams I've been pregnant where I've had to ask, what am I pregnant with, good or bad? And usually for me, it's been good. There have been things that are coming along, and you're about to step into something new and different. That's what babies are. You're expecting, right? That's what they say when you're pregnant. Likewise, you can have a dream maybe where you have a miscarriage. God may be showing you that something was aborted in your life, like maybe you were supposed to go in a specific direction, and for whatever reason you got diverted one way or the other, whether it was fear, bad decisions, circumstance, and you just didn't go the way you needed to go. But babies are usually, it could be literal, but usually it's a new beginning. It's a new birth. It's a new way of doing things. It's something, maybe of a ministry, and it's in its infancy. That's generally what that means. But like I said, could mean anything. Is it a baby that you know? And what is their name? Look very closely at their name and look up the meanings of their names. Husband or wife, if you're married. Husbands, my husband, usually with the two of us in a dream, it's usually literal. Sometimes it is not. Now we got a dog problem. Husbands and wives are often literal in dreams, but not always. Dreams, I've had dreams with my husband that made no sense because they were not literal. They were not literal and they didn't make any sense. And then I realized, really, he was sort of a type and a form of Jesus, and that may sound really freaky and weird. And no, I'm not saying my husband is Jesus, okay? Don't come back at me with that, please. Biblically, it says that husbands are to care for their wives as Jesus did for the church, even laying down his life. So that's how a husband is supposed to be. And so when I realized that, it was like a churchy type dream and all that. Now likewise, my husband once had a dream that I was having an affair. It was not true, and I'm like, calm down, I'm right here, you know that's not true. And he's like, yeah, but I was so angry in the dream. And I said, after we talked about the dream, we realized I was a symbol of the church. Weird? No, I'm a wife. What does Jesus say? Shut up. What does Jesus say? You know, he's preparing a bride, which is the church. So, bride, church. And the issue was something going on in a church where the Lord was viewing it as an adulterous situation. Okay? Dreams can be weird. And the last thing I'm going to talk about are in-laws, whether they're mother-in-laws. If you have a great mother-in-law, this is not true, probably. Mother-in-laws are often considered as people who are troublemakers, or they meddle and they step in where they don't belong, and they give opinions when no one wants them. That's not always true, but some people have great mother-in-laws, some people don't. You know, like I said, same with father-in-law. There's an in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. And sometimes what God is talking about is there is a legalistic thing, like you're doing something very regimented that's almost legalistic, and you need to stop doing that. Like I said, depends on, you know, sometimes mine with some of my in-laws have been their occupations. I've had in-laws that are involved in law enforcement, and so they're good. They're like the good cop, or the, you know, that kind of a thing. There's a lot of things to look at. Occupations, names, how you feel about them. It can get kind of complicated. Dreams can be really complex if you're going to get good at dream interpretation, especially if you have them a lot. I get a lot of phone calls from friends that go, I had this dream. Can you help me out? And their view of it and my view of it are totally different sometimes, and they are looking at it a little bit too literal. But if you don't dream all the time, it can be a little different. I dream a lot. That is one of the reasons, though, I'm making the forms and the journal, is to really help you be able to just break stuff down into great detail. What do you need to look for? What is going on in the dream? And next time I will cover some different people, but I thought I'd just hit family and keep it short. So until the next time, have a great day.